Hello again, everyone. Edwin Leonard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Mars transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. Now, on average, if your house size is average size at 30 degrees, then Mars will traverse your house for approximately 2 months. However, that is only if Mars is just in direct motion during that transit. If Mars is in retrograde motion and or your house size is larger than average size, then Mars will be in the house for a longer period. Well, anyway, it's important to look at when I look at Mars transiting the 12th house. This could be a time where you may be very aggressive and assertive, perhaps in tackling perhaps your fears and things connected with your limitations and restrictions. This could be a period also where it could indicate some contentious and maybe even acrimonious experiences with people that are associated in your private life. It could indicate that your anger might be suppressed a little bit more than usual during this period and harder to express. And it could mean that you might show this energy, this anger more in private than you do outside of your private life. It might be shown or expressed more in solitude and seclusion. This could be a period where you may emphasize introversion and introspection a lot more than usual. If you look at Mars transiting one's natal 12th house, it could also indicate, because the 12th house is connected with mental illness. Now, I understand most people don't have it, but if Mars is transiting this house, and if this is a person that has a mental illness, this might be something that might make the person a little bit angrier more than usual and maybe agitate the person. It might bring it more to the forefront, so to speak, if Mars is transiting the person's natal 12th house. Now, this could also indicate perhaps when Mars is transiting the 12th house, it could indicate too that even though energy might be dissipated to some degree as opposed to usual for the person, it could indicate that the person may even perhaps express inexorable energy in private. It could be a time where maybe the person decides to start working out at home and doing some exercises at home, doing something, maybe constructively releasing aggressive energy and maybe even anger, such as hitting up perhaps a punching bag in their home, for example, and finding constructive outlets in privacy to release this. Now, when Mars transits the 12th house, it could also indicate that the person may be more rather assertive and aggressive, perhaps in using their energy maybe for people that are less fortunate than themselves, such as the oppressed, the homeless, the impoverished, the hungry. It could be a lot of energy connected with self-sacrificing, charitable energy. It could even be, you look at the 12th house and it's connected with the metaphysical and spiritual. Could even indicate that more energy might be put into these things as well in some cases. Now, the 12th house is also associated with hidden adversaries and enemies. So perhaps during this time, this might be a period where maybe you're able to confront these hidden adversaries and enemies if you do have them, because it could make these people come to the surface perhaps when Mars is traversing your 12th house. Now, also, when we look at the 12th house, it's also connected, with our limitations and our restrictions, and it could indicate that maybe these kind of things that you're generally, most people are cognizant of their limitations and of their restrictions, but it could be a time where maybe these people that have this transit might confront them a little more. And also it could bother these people more and maybe cause a little bit more agitation than usual. It could also be a time when Mars transits your natal 12th house that you may maybe have some little bit more difficulties in connection with sleep. It could be something, maybe there's something that has agitated you that may be bothering you and causing some sleep disruptions and interruptions, and maybe you're just, it could be something connected with that, and something that's connected maybe with an angry situation that might be causing some difficulties, because Mars is associated with anger. So it could be something along those lines that might be causing perhaps some difficulty during this time as far as sleep goes. But could also keep in mind that Mars is associated with sex. It could also indicate more sexual dreams than usual during this period. And also the fact that Mars is connected with sex, it could indicate that if you are unattached right now and you don't have somebody such as any kind of significant other or sexual partner, what have you, you might be attracted sexually maybe to somebody like that associated with something in the 12th house, such as somebody with the metaphysical, or somebody connected, prominent in something spiritual, or somebody that works in a hospital, for example. So anyway, it's also important to look at the sign that Mars is in, whether it's for the majority or the whole time of the transit to the 12th house, as this could flavor the transit. Let's say, for example, that Mars is in Aquarius for either the majority or the whole time of the transit to the 12th house. Well, this could show perhaps a lot of ingenious and unorthodox, unconventional energy during this period. And the fact that it's in the 12th house, this might be expressed perhaps in solitude and seclusion. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that Mars is transiting Pisces in the 12th house for either the majority or the whole time of its transit. Well, this could indicate a lot of energy, perhaps connected with compassion and self-sacrifice during this period. And the fact that it's in the 12th house may indicate that this energy may be applied toward people that are less fortunate than yourself, such as the homeless, the impoverished, the oppressed, and the hungry. Now, it's also important to look at the aspects that are made to your natal planets and points from this transit of Mars in your 12th house, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say, for example, that transiting Mars is making a sextile or trine to your natal Saturn. Well, this could indicate a lot of disciplined energy during this period and being able to disperse your energies evenly. Now, being in the 12th house, it could indicate that this energy is being dispersed perhaps with things connected with your private life and in solitude and seclusion. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Mars, I should say, in your 12th house is making a square, inconjunct, or opposition to your natal Uranus. Well, this could indicate that you may become agitated, maybe with people more, if you feel they're trying to inhibit your freedom or your independence. And being the fact that it's in your 12th house, this could be maybe tied into that freedom and independence that maybe you want in your, as far as your private life goes. Well, anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Mars transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Jupiter transiting the 1st house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.